Good evening, everyone. This is a select board meeting for August 22nd, 2022. I'll read tonight's agenda and then we'll get right down to business. Under new business, we need to approve the August 8th meeting minutes. We need to sign warrants. I have some paperwork here from the Historical Society, and Andrew Crane's here to speak with us about that. And is there anything else that we need to talk about tonight?
I talked with Randy Reed a little bit about the Riley Road.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to talk about that a little.
Okay. Yeah, we'll speak on the Riley Road. Anything else for us? That it, Kevin? Right. Alright, we'll get right down to it. Andrew, I see we got a letter here from the Historical Society about the roof.
Yes, I don't know if everybody had a chance to look that over.
No.
I should have made extra copies. The Historical Society first wants to express its admiration and appreciation for the speed with which the select board addressed the septic tank issue.
Yeah, we got lucky on that one.
I guess we did. That's what it is.
But anyways, yeah, it worked out for everybody, so that's good.
And if you could find us a plumber with the same speed, we'd be golden. But the other piece of that conversation 2 weeks ago had been the concern that the Historical Society had about advancing the necessary repairs and modifications to the building. As the presumptive custodians of that property, we've been making incremental gains on rehabilitating that long neglected property. It's become evident, and I think it was expressed in the letter, that the leaks in the steel roof have become an urgent problem, and we imagine that if money is available for infrastructure improvements, perhaps through ARPA, this might be an area that the select board would consider. I attached a project budget proposed for both the replacement of the steel roof and the exterior staircase that I'd mentioned in passing 2 weeks ago. Both of which are high-ticket items for the Historical Society and beyond our capacity to manage right now, as we're finishing up with the capital building projects that included accessibility pieces within. So we'd like the select board to consider directing, if it's within the scope of the funds that have been allocated to the town, directing funds to replace the steel roof, and also to support the addition of the exterior stairs required by the Division of Public Safety, Fire and Safety. And I noted that in the letter that's before you, and appear here to answer any questions if any come to mind.
Yeah, I mean, what's the top priority? Is that roof probably before it starts doing structural damage inside? And
Well, we may be a little behind on that, but because it has been leaking, and we're catching the leaks pretty faithfully. But the leaks aren't fixing themselves. We had the structural engineer in 2016 and the architectural consultant in 2017 review the building, and both of them addressed the roof as a priority concern. We didn't ignore it, but we reprioritized and addressed accessibility of the first floor over the roof, since the roof leaks seem to be managed. And we also had a promise for some roof repair that hasn't happened. Now that the leaks have penetrated the ceiling of the second floor and are accumulating significant water in the occasional deluges, then we really need to address that. It has started to manifest itself in some decay along the soffit and the moldings on the freeze board. So it's a project that the board meeting last week decided really needed to be elevated above other interior work. So we'll continue to do as much interior rehabilitation on the second floor as we can without running afoul of the areas where the roof is impinging on the work that's being done.
Yeah, it's probably doesn't make a lot of sense to do a bunch of interior work if you're gonna get damage in the meantime.
Well, we do have,
Is this estimate you got for the roof, is that a current estimate?
it's current, and it comes from two sources. I drew it from a local roofing contractor, and I also drew it from a web estimator, an online building estimating site, current for July of 2022. It doesn't represent a proposal from either our local contractor, nor is it an itemized proposal, but it came from the high end of the web estimator, so I imagine that it'll give us a good place to frame a contract with whomever the town thinks would be the appropriate contractor to handle that.
Yeah.
There had been an issue earlier with the KAS environmental assessment team that came and did the groundwater surveys around the building. They speculated that there may be asphalt under that roof. There may be.
Yeah.
That would involve an extraordinary expense for the disposal of asphalt that isn't represented in that figure. If the existing steel can be removed and the asphalt roofing, if any exists, can be left intact and a new roof laid over it, then we'd escape the issue of having to dispose of potentially hazardous materials. Asphalt roofing is understood to contain asbestos, and that would be a disposal issue.
Yeah.
But pending a more invasive examination of the existing roof, it didn't seem wise to put in a number for hazardous waste that may not exist.
Yeah. What do we have in the budget for, I'm probably sure, what did we budget for structural siding for?
$1,000.
Yeah, just the point.
Well, the whole budget, 35,000 police services,
I think though you can put that on a list, like make a list of what needs to be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, that's what we probably should do, because I know Givert's got a wish list and structural siding and.
Is that something that the roof could just be patched? To get it through until spring or whenever we can budget some more money?
Yeah, what's the chance of getting a contractor this fall anyways?
Well, the contractor from whom I solicited the,
Yeah,
thought he wouldn't be able to do anything before November. He seems to like to work roofs in the winter.
well, that's a tough time of year to do roofing.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of bare hand work in the winter. I sense that slows things down considerably, while the clock doesn't slow down at all. But that being the case, he didn't favor a patch, since patches tend only to be whack-a-mole efforts to guess where the water.
No, but if you can stop the worst of it through the winter and then, get a new roof on there, because if it's leaking now, you're gonna have to get under there and figure out if there's any, you gotta have something sturdy enough to nail that roof into, or else it's not gonna stay on. And if you've got some rotten timbers under there, you might be, nailing into nothing, and then you're gonna be in worse shape than you were before, so. I think that would have to be, don't you agree, that you're gonna have to get up there and figure out what you got to work with. And I don't think that's gonna be something we'll do in the middle of November. But,
Well, on behalf of the board of directors, I'm happy to leave that for your further consideration.
yeah,
And look forward to an assessment of where the money's best spent. We're happy to solicit and execute a contract if the select board feels the ARPA budget will handle it, or if that's an appropriate expression of that fund. And the same applies, I guess, to the exterior staircase. There's an imperative to get the stairs on the building so that the second story can be utilized. Since it has a roof on it as well, it would be useful to integrate the roof work in a single contract. Although the roof on the stairs is only 140 square feet, and the larger roof is way bigger, but not a bad idea to get them done as a unit.
yeah,
So I'll be happy to report that you're considering this.
yeah, we'll take it into consideration and we'll try to come up with something for you guys.
Okay, great. We are responsible for making an annual report on the status of the building. It's part of the interim agreement that we had signed
Yeah,
when this arrangement was first constructed. And I guess this brings you up to date with the condition of the building as we understand it today.
yeah, very good. We'll check it out here and put you on the wish list.
Okay, and that'll be sorted out through the course of the budget process before town meeting, or is this something that's?
Yeah, no, I think we'll have that sorted out before the end of fall here. We need to get things prioritized and figured out. But we'll have to wait till we have a full board too. Hopefully next meeting, everybody's here and we can make time to discuss some of that stuff. We're gonna start, making up a list of projects that need done in town and go from there.
Well, thanks for considering it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming in, and I'm glad that business worked out for you guys.
That was terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was lucky.
Thanks for engineering that.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
thank you.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's do some signing while we're at it here. Get that. I'll read the minutes from the previous meeting. Select Board Water Commissioner meeting minutes from August 8th of 2022. We met here at 7:30 in the town office. Present was Stephen Dodd, David Pluvitt, Joe Dunleavy, Nick Norris, Seth Hungerford, Kim Dufresne, and Andy Crane. At 7:30 I opened the meeting and read the agenda. Addition was made to go into executive session to discuss personnel. Andy Crane reported that the septic tank at the Historical Society needs to be replaced. And if the town could do it, or if it was needed to contract out. And the board agreed it would be contracted out and replaced as soon as possible. The board discussed the planning commission's recommendations to leave the town-owned property on Sweet Hall Road as is. The board will ask the town attorney for options for a legal agreement to be written for the property to not be sold or used for recreational purposes only. We signed warrants 2230 and 2231. I read the meeting minutes from July 25th. Joe motioned to accept as read, seconded by David, and all in favor. I also read a letter from David Quinnell, a member of the Vermont Old Cemetery Association. He visited the Poor Farm Cemetery in 2017 and revisited in August of 2022. I was glad to see work that had been done, and I reached out to him about what the association to see what they offer for restoration and preservation. Going to meet with him on Thursday morning to look at that stuff. Anybody's welcome to come, 9 o'clock at the Poor Farm Cemetery. Board reviewed the study done in 2009 to extend the sewer line in Sheldon Springs, and we'll discuss with Hubert. Nick updated the board on policing. St. Albans Police Department has no availability because of staffing shortage, and the board will continue to search for other options. Board discussed the Riley Road and will continue to research options. 8:45, Nick motioned to go into executive session, seconded by David, and all in favor. We discussed maintenance on the highway. At 9:25, we exited executive session. Nick motioned to adjourn, seconded by David. Meeting adjourned at 9:25. Take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Alright, all in favor then, I guess. So I have Kim sent a message to our town attorney about that question we had last week on the town forest, and his response was, per our conversation regarding the sale of property, all municipal property, with a few exceptions that would not apply here, is subject to the requirements of 24 VSA 1061. And that statute requires that if the select board intends to sell town property, it must give notice of the terms of the proposed sale by posting a notice in at least 3 public places in the town and publishing a notice in the local newspaper. So it would be like any other, like a warning. If a petition signed by 5% of the voters is presented to the town clerk within 30 days of the date of posting and publication of the notice, the question of whether the town should sell a property must be presented for a town meeting vote. In the alternative, the select board can have the voters decide at an annual or special town meeting whether the real estate should be conveyed. 24 VSA 1061 already presents a pretty significant limitation on the ability to sell town property. In essence, the voters must either vote to approve the proposed sale or at least be given notice of proposed sale and take no action. Regarding limiting the property to recreational use, if the select board wanted to restrict the use of property, it could adopt a policy describing which uses are allowed and which are prohibited. Perhaps as a part of a management plan for the property. So I mean, yeah, if the select board wanted to limit the use of property in, how do you say that? Perpetuity there, forever, the town could convey a conservation easement on the property to a third party, like land trust or that other fund there, that trust that they're talking about. That conservation easement could have covenants and conditions that allow only specific uses such as recreation. Hope this all helps. Let me know if you have any further, if you need any further explanation. So it sounds like the, you know, the statute says you can't just sell property anyways. And we could do, you know, we could adopt a policy, you know, for town-owned land, you know, as long as, you know, I don't know what we want to limit on it or what we, you know, if we don't want to allow logging on it, then, you know, but you, I mean, you could put some restrictions on it, I guess, or just leave it the way it is, and people want to use it to walk down there. Might be a good question for town meeting. So we have this down, what's the vision of what goes on down there, you know, what people want, you know. I know a couple of the neighbors that were here didn't want a lot going on down there because it's in their backyard, but, yeah.
I mean, just reporting on it at town meeting day, I think it's gonna be what we're looking for is.
Yeah.
What's the final answer on this, what do you guys find, and then who do we contact with, you know, the idea is what we want or don't want on it.
Yeah, somebody can write up a report for town meeting, you know, as soon as we had county forester in there, we had, you know, that trust, whatever in there, and these were the proposals, and, you know, this is what the planning commission recommended.
Here's their schedule
This
for
is
meetings.
what we're, you know,
Yeah.
this is what we're looking at, and I guess that would, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Seth sent me an update on the Riley Road conversation we had with Fairfield.
Nice.
Just that he spoke with Tom Morgan, and they have not had complaints on the Fairfield side. The gentleman that lives in that part of the road would not put up with the four-wheelers and such. They're looking on that side, maybe putting a gate up without a lock. Apparently they also believe that it was a trail, not a class 4 road. So it's not complete information, but looks like they were the same presumptions that we were.
You know, probably the same thinking that we were, it was just.
And it's, Randy had said, way back, Roger had come in and talked to the selectmen at the time, he thought it was Stanley and Clarence.
Yeah,
And he said at that time, it was like all caved right in, and they kind of just kept bringing stuff in to get to the sugar house, and then kind of topped it, and that's when the driveways went in. And he kind of liked to have it thrown up, and I guess the other people would, just because of the amount of speed, and the amount of, through the Sheldon end is actually pretty good. I mean, it's super narrow, you can't even meet 2 4-wheelers. I went up with a Jeep and I mean, there's just enough room for one person.
So Randy's probably thinking that he'd like to see it thrown up now.
Yeah, and
I know at first when he came to see me, he was upset and he was, discouraged, and he had said that he'd like to see it cut down. And then by the end of the conversation, he was like, well, I don't, and he did that that night he was in here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, I don't want, I don't want to be a jerk to people and this and that, but.
no, and he was still on the same, I think, mindset of that. Like so he could have an easement up just move the class 4 part of it to maybe to like his property line and put a gate so people can access it on foot or horse or just not ATVs or vehicles driving through. He was okay with that, and I don't know if there's a way a gate could be set with some posts or something, so you just don't put it up just wide enough so pedestrians or whatever can get through. And you could see some of the scarring on the trees that he was talking about. He's got some buried main lines that were.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, we could look into, I guess, leaving it a class 4 road up to, we'd have to leave it up to a sugar house, right, because that's got a 911 address.
And Donna and Mark King, I think their property, that's their only right of way is off by the road. So you
But if we went to that point, I guess, and then
Yeah,
through
their
right
properties,
there.
the first place, right out to the left, so.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
look into doing that, I guess.
And maybe it was time to wait and see what the Fairfield does.
Yeah, you'd have to see what Fairfield's gonna do, but if they're under the impression it's a trail, then. And it sounds like after Randy bought that other property, he owns right over to the Fairfield one anyways, right?
I think Roy owns a little bit.
On the left-hand side, Randy owns them.
So
Yeah.
steps for us to make that happen then.
Do you have to put that through, does that have to go just like the sale of the land? Does that have to be noticed to all?
Yes, it has to be, and you have to hold a special meeting.
Mhm.
Should we have all the parties though? Especially the town of Fairfield, talk with those guys.
Yeah,
make sure
we're
everybody's-
gonna have to speak with the town of Fairfield before we jump into this, I think, just to make sure they're.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure everybody's on the same, and then talk to landowners and.
Yeah,
So we need to reach out to Fairfield as the next step.
yeah.
Schedule a meeting with them and the landowners.
What's that?
Schedule a meeting with them and the landowners.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess guess we have to talk Fairfield first before we do this, start this process, and then if we do it, you have to notify all the joint landowners and hold a special meeting, and they can come in and voice their opinion on whether they agree with it or disagree with it, and then make a decision on it. I guess the first thing probably would be do to talk to Fairfield. Tell them what we're proposing, figure out, get a map out and figure out exactly where that, where we would stop that class 4 road, I guess. If,
Tom's the chair, right?
I believe so, isn't
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I think he's still listed as their chair. So if that's something that just you call and the chairs discuss the production of the scheduled meeting, or
I think you need both boards, we meet together.
full boards?
Yeah. Yeah, or at least the majority of our board, so that people will meet with them. What nights do they meet?
I feel like I saw them when you walking in tonight.
Same night.
Same schedule as we had,
Mm-hmm.
so we probably have to warn a special meeting.
Second and fourth Monday of each month, beginning at 7. Tom Morgan chair, Kevin Ryan vice.
Okay, we'll have to line something up, I guess, to talk with them. We'll get up with the set tomorrow. Let them know what we're thinking and see about getting something set up.
He also mentioned, not related to the Riley Road thing, that he had talked to Seth Cattell about getting a quote for the resurfacing of the courts. I don't know if you've heard anything on that, or
I
not.
spoke with Seth last Monday, and he said that they went down and measured the tennis court and basketball court, and then Seth had spoke to him about getting a quote. He was gonna try to get a hold of a couple of people, I guess, who was gonna call on the for paving and Bushy, I think, and see if he could get a quote on it.
Is that something that he, I don't know what the schedule is, but before the school year starts, or sort of getting down there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I doubt it. Everybody's backed up, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard back from him. He said he had talked to Seth
Alright.
that morning before he talked to me, and that he had it all measured. And he was gonna make some calls after he got off the phone with me, but I haven't heard from him this week. And he'd asked to take a day or two off. Was that last week or this week?
I think he's on vacation next week.
He's on the vacation this week, yeah. I said, well, you might as well take it now, she can't take it in winter, so. He said he's still got a bunch of comp time, and Jim's got a bunch of comp time. I said, you have to figure it out, but you're not gonna do it in the winter. So. Alright, we got anything else that we need to discuss? I spoke with Hubert last week. So the water meters were,
Done.
they're done now. He had like 2 left or something, but yeah, he was real happy with the way that was going. Spoke to him about that sewer project. The maps we looked at. He says he'd like to see it go right up the Shawville Road right away. He said that way you'd catch that little house on the corner. There's talk of maybe something going on up at Debbie Churchill's or Debbie Whitman, right? That's her name. There's talk of maybe something sometime going on up in there. He said that would be perfect to shoot down into there. And then if you ever go across 105, it would be right there and ready to go. He said that would work for Pam's place. He thinks that would be a lot better than going across that right away there. He said you're just getting into it. Hard to, you have to access it, get to the manhole, you gotta drive across somebody's lawn or whatever. And he just thinks it would be. So he was gonna look into getting an engineer to take that plan that's there, but double check everything and make sure, and then get a cost estimate on it to see. He said that he thinks their cause I said, is it urgent, cause they didn't really say if they had, septic problems or whatever. He doesn't think it's urgent, but he thinks that maybe at some point they might wanna sell property, so they wanted to know about, that's basically why they were asking, I guess. So I told him to go ahead and get a estimate on it, drawing, and we can put it on our wish lists and our priorities and stuff. And, what else did he say? Just the meter stuff. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I've got. Guess we don't have anything else. Take a motion to adjourn for the evening.
I like a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Alright,